Welcome to The Big Story. I'm Gretchen Ho.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Riza Diaz.
Tonight's big stories. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. tells lawmakers to stand back and drop any attempt to oust Vice President Sara Duterte via impeachment.
The VP asks for more time to appear at the NBI to explain the kill threat against PBBM, the First Lady, and the House Speaker.
And Australia has just become the first country in the world to ban social media among kids under 16 years old.
A storm in a teacup. That's how President Bongbong Marcos described the talk on impeaching Vice President Sara Duterte.
And so he is dissuading Congress to drop any effort to legally oust Duterte. But as far as PBBM is concerned, this will only distract lawmakers from more important tasks.
Now, the president also believes that any impeachment move is just a waste of time. Maricel Halili has tonight's big story.
They may not be on the best of terms now, but the chief executive does not want his former running mate expelled. He sees an impeachment complaint against VP Duterte as a waste of time.
What will happen to if somebody files an impeachment? It will tie down the House, it will tie down the Senate, it will just take up all the time, and for what? For nothing. For nothing. None of this will help improve a single Filipino life. As far as I'm concerned, it's a storm in a teacup.
The president admitted to sending a text message yesterday talking lawmakers out of any move to legally oust the vice president. In that message, PBBM said that in the larger scheme of things, the VP is not important. He called an impeachment effort as a mere distraction from the real work of government, which is to improve the lives of Filipinos.
Well, it was actually private communication, but nalik na, yes. Because that's really my opinion. This is not important. So why waste time on this?
But does the president have time to mend ties with the vice president? Recall that Duterte had said her broken relationship with Marcos has reached a, quote, point of no return. But if you ask the president,
Sir, have you reached the point of no return, you and VP Sara, sir?
Never say never.
this hope for a reconciliation was broached when PBBM visited Lucena, Quezon earlier in the day to distribute certificates of condonation to agrarian reform beneficiaries. He also dropped by the Southern Luzon Command days after former President Rodrigo Duterte called his government fractured. Duterte even went as far as call for military action to correct this supposed government flaw. But President Marcos advised uniformed personnel to rise above the political noise.
Pagka maraming maingay na nangyayari, iniisip ko lagi, ano ba talaga trabaho ko? Trabaho ko ba yung makipag-away dyan? Trabaho ko ba makapag-debate dyan sa mga walang kwentang bagay? Hindi. Ang trabaho ko, pagandahin ang Pilipinas. Kayo naman, may mission din kayo.
For News 5, Maricel Halili, We Are One News.
The Makabayan bloc in the House of Representatives is disappointed with what it sees is the president's meddling. It believes Marcos's advice against the filing of an impeachment complaint against VP Sara Duterte violates a separation of powers between the executive and legislative branches of government. Makabayan stresses that the House is not a rubber stamp of Malacanang. The group of progressive lawmakers also considers PBBM's stand as a sign of weak leadership, quote, in the presence of corruption, death threats, and blatant disrespect of the House of Representatives. Now recall that the bloc's ally, Bagong Alyansang Makabayan or Bayan, says it is already preparing the document to oust Sara Duterte. But this early, Manila 3rd District Congressman Joel Chua does not see the complaint moving forward in the lower chamber. Chua leads a Good Government Committee investigating Duterte's OVP and DepEd for alleged funds misuse.
Mahihirapan po makakuha ng numero pagka ganyan po ang statement ng ating presidente. Lagi po naman sa Kongreso, it's always a numbers game. Lahat yan titingin po sa mga pronouncement ng ating Pangulo.
Let's try to make sense of all this political noise. To help us do that is political analyst Dennis Coronacion, who joins us tonight. He is the chairman of the Political Science Department of the University of Santo Tomas. Welcome to The Big Story, Professor.
Hi, good evening, ladies, and thank you for having me here.
Okay, Professor Dennis, at the start of the week, President Marcos said, papalagan niya ang sinabi ni Vice President Sara Duterte. At the end of the week, though, it seems like a change in heart or, um, in tone, saying that impeachment is a waste of time and that in the larger scheme of things, VP Sara is unimportant. Were you surprised? And what do you make of this?
Well, surprised in the sense that I thought that he was going to be combative through and through, but then again, the president changed his mind along the way, and I suppose this is the typical President Bongbong Marcos that we know of. Uh, Ever since the 2022 campaign, he was always evasive of engaging his opponents in a word war and in a political fight. So what we are seeing at the moment is the typical President PBBM. Of course, I think I have to agree with him that even though his detractors and perhaps some of his allies think that his recent decision or his latest decision is a sign of his weakness. But for me, I think we have to look at the broader picture. We have to ask ourselves if we are really prepared for this kind of a political fight, which is going to become more and more intense as time goes by. And are we really, is Congress really willing to set aside the more important, more urgent problems? Um, just so they can, prosecute the vice president. So I think, I think that's the president who has already, given a serious thought about what's going on, and without any emotion, probably he said that this conflict, if this is going to go on, it's not going to do us any good.
Well, Professor, do you believe that the president was telling the truth, that he was very straightforward a while ago? Because there are some people who are thinking that this was a fake leak. The text message of the president to who knows who was a fake leak and baka meron dito nangyayari behind the scenes, ano? Anong basa niyo doon?
Well, we can doubt the veracity of the of the text message, pero I think he in front of the camera he said something which is related to that one, somewhat confirming the content of the text message. Sa media interview niya, sinabi niya na parang hindi na kinakailangan. Parang meron pang hope doon sa kanilang dalawa ni Vice President Sara Duterte. So somehow I don't see kung man na-reconcile na yung text message doon
No,
at
what I
saka yung
meant,
kanyang media interview.
What I meant by fake is that probably he's trying to do something else. Like he's saying one thing and wants to do another.
Kumbaga, Professor, parang for the optics of it, no? Is he trying to distance himself from this issue? What do you think of that?
Well, we're going to find out later kasi tama naman yun, kung if there's such kind of suspicion, that might also be true in the sense that, of course, alam naman natin yung politika sa bansa natin, some leaders will say one thing and then they'll do another. In this case naman, even if the president is encouraging the members of the House as well as the other, legislators to put an end to this one, baka yung iba dyan hindi susunod. So it's always possible that some of his allies in Congress are not going to follow his orders. And in fact, yun na nga sinabi na nga sa news kanina that the Makabayan Bloc who has been cooperative in terms of investigating the vice president has already issued a statement saying that this is some kind of intervention on the part of the executive. That's insofar as the Makabayan Bloc is concerned. We don't know the rest of the allies of the president in the House of Representatives.
Professor, what do you make of the president saying, with all that has been said and done, that this is all unimportant? at di ba, the text message says she is unimportant. Then in a statement, he said, this is, the issue is unimportant, and this is just a storm in a teacup. What do you make of that?
Well, that's his way of saying that we should put an end to this, and in a reconciliatory mood, in tone, he is encouraging the other members of the members of Congress to stop or if not do something better. Do not waste the taxpayers' money on the investigations. Kasi totoo niyan, I think at this point, Congress has already had solid evidence against the Vice President. So I suppose the next thing to do there, the next logical thing to do, is to file the appropriate cases or charges against the Vice President. In the proper forum, like the courts, and Ligan Bayan, and so on and so forth. Because if the investigations are going to linger, they're going to, these things are going to distract them from their real job, which is to do laws, amend laws and repeal laws. If this is going to take a worse turn, baka mamaya magkaroon pa ng impeachment, and sabi niya, this is going to tie them down. Tama naman yun, ano? This is going to be a waste of their time. And to what? Just for the purpose of removing a vice president? I think they have better things to do. Kumbaga man, let the courts do their function since they have already collected all the necessary evidence.
Okay, Professor, but we did hear itong si Congressman Joel Chua earlier saying it is still a numbers game. And after the President's statement, sabi niya, mukhang hindi makakuha ng numero if that is the case. But for you, Professor, do you think the impeachment articles can still prosper in both chambers? The Makabayan bloc is still trying to push for this impeachment. What do you think? Considering, no, Professor, 1/3 of votes ang kailangan sa House at 2/3 sa Senate.
Well, I think it depends on the House leadership if they can, if it can muster the necessary number of votes. Given the fact that I think the House Speaker is in control of the House, I think it can get the necessary 1/3 votes in order to pass the articles of impeachment. Kaya naman, although it's not that simple, that would require negotiations. But the next question there is this going to prosper once the impeachment case complaint is filed? What about in the Senate? Is it going to prosper in the Senate? Knowing the fact na, syempre, the Dutertes have allies in the Senate. So the Senate in the impeachment process is going to serve as, the court or the judges. The senators are going to be the judges. So we're not sure of the outcome. So probably, what Congressman Chu is thinking is that he's probably asking, are we going to take the risk, knowing the fact that even though this complaint is filed in the House, we do not know for sure what's going to happen in the Senate.
If the impeachment does not prosper, does not happen with the 19th Congress, do you think it has a chance to prosper in the next Congress after the midterm elections?
But it actually depends. Like what Congressman Chua said, it's all a solid numbers game. So if the super majority will be re-elected in the House of Representatives, then there's a good chance. And then again in the Senate, we don't know who are going to be elected. If the Senate will be dominated by the allies of the administration party, then chances are, I think. They might get the results that they want to have insofar as the vice president is concerned. So it really depends on the outcome of the elections. How many among the president's allies are going to be elected, or how many of the Duterte allies are going to be elected? Both, in both houses.
Professor, pagdating dun sa rift between our top two leaders, when VP Sara was asked if things could still be mended, she said it's reached a point of no return. But on the other hand, PBBM said, never say never. So parang, ano ba to, Prof? Is this both of them playing good cop, bad cop. I mean, what do you think about them mending their ties?
No, but I think we have to look at the two dimensions of their relationship. Since these are politicians, I think the more important part of their relationship is the political aspect. They were once allies, and that alliance had already served its purpose. So I don't think that politically speaking, the alliance would ever be formed again, or the political friendship would ever be formed again. Now, insofar as at the personal level, I think perhaps their relationship can be mended. O pero hanggang doon na lang 'yon. Siguro civil na lang sila. Pero pagdating na sa election, sa usaping politika, mga political issues, tingin ko hindi na sila magkakasundo. Unless, of course, there is a compelling reason or an issue that both parties, that can unify both parties again. So, but sa ngayon, kasi malapit ng election, it's the election that is dictating their behaviors. Oo, so sa ngayon, magkalaban na sila, they're no longer allies. So that will remain the same until the 2025 elections and perhaps until the 2028 presidential election.
But Professor, it still baffles me how the president said that VP Sara was unimportant in the larger scheme of things. But nung Monday, hindi ko talaga makalimutan that strongly worded video by the president where he said papalagan niya, and also ginamit niya yung mga words na hindi dapat natutokhang katotohanan and yung chichirya. I mean, related to his personality of being a pleasant guy who is conflict avoidant, what do you make of that speech nung Monday?
Well, I think the president was reacting to what the vice president said during the weekend. Na sabi niya sa video, si President Bongbong Marcos, si Liza Marcos, so the first couple, at si House Speaker Martin Romualdez, pag ako ay inatay, so may papatay na rin sa kanila. So he was reacting to a threat. At saka doon sa public rant niya ni Vice President na hindi magandang pakinggan kasi bukod sa threat, meron pa mga mura. So siguro dala na rin ng emotion, the president issued those words, mentioned those words as an immediate reaction. Pero nung nahimasmasan na siguro siya after a few days, medyo bumalik na siya doon sa pagkakakilala natin sa kanya na hindi mahilig sa pumatol sa mga ganyang mga word war. So that's why yan, conciliatory yung kanyang
within the week. Medyo mabilis, ano?
Right. And parang it's two contrasting complexions, 'di ba? The Vice President was seen very angry, and ito naman si President BBM is, medyo kalmado pa. But in the perception of the public, meron ka bang masasabi, Professor, as early as now on how the public sees this? Is somebody getting more sympathy or anything as such?
Well, I think itong mga events na to, in terms of optics, the Vice President has negative yung impact sa kanya dito from the time that she gave that public rant, kasama na yung threats, it did not really turn out well for her. And I think that's going to do some damage on her popularity and on her reputation. At saka sa image siya sa leader. Because leaders are not supposed to behave that way. They're not supposed to say those words. And they're not supposed to issue a threat against their fellow political leaders. On the other hand, yung kay President BBM, I don't think na yung kanyang strong words, even I think contributed to a good image. And yung turnaround niya later on also contributed positively to his image. Oo, maganda naman. Except of course, tingnan natin if later on yung mga kasama niya, yung mga kaalyado niya sa House, ay hindi susunod sa kanya. Siguro by that time, yung accusation sa kanya ng Makabayan Black that he is a weak leader, baka that might lend credence to what they're saying about the president's kind of leadership.
On the other side of this is also what's happening over at the EDSA Shrine. Sinasabi nila maaaring mangyaring EDSA 4. Tingin ninyo, posible yan with the Duterte crowd? And dyan ba siguro napaisip ang presidente tungkol sa kanyang legacy na iiwan niya?
Well, yung EDSA 4, right? I think that's not going to happen. Kasi, well, of course, setting aside yung yung mga bayad na, yung mga diehard supporters, saka yung mga paid supporters. Pero yung larger public, I don't think that they're going to join, them in EDSA 4 kung meron man, if ever that's going to happen. Kasi mahirap kampihan yung ang dominant narrative kasi lumalabas sa investigation is that the vice president is involved or has committed some irregularities when it comes to her disbursement of intelligence funds and confidential funds. So I don't think that any sane person would, give support to a political leader na may ganong klaseng issue. So siguro kung iba pa yung issue ni Vice President, hindi related sa corruption, baka maaari pa, may maraming mag-express ng support pumunta sa EDSA. Pero sa ganyang case, I don't think na may mga pupunta to give support to the Vice President.
Okay, but Professor, I also wanted to get your thoughts on the implications of our political tensions on a global scale. We ran a report that foreign investors are supposedly not bothered by the tension between our president and our vice president. But in your opinion, do you think this projects an image of national instability? And in effect, do you think our economic agenda can stay resilient amid everything that's happening?
Well, the foreign investors, foreign companies are not bothered at the moment because the conflict is still manageable. It has not reached its worst point. Pero, of course, since there is such ongoing conflict, so we don't know what's going to happen in the future, if this is going to escalate or if this is going to dissipate. I hope na matigil na to, since the President has already initiated extending a hand to the Vice President. So it's up to the Vice President as to how she's going to react. Ngayon, in the long run, of course, if these things are going to be a regular occurrence in Philippine politics, this is going to create a bad image for the country, which can, of course, drive away foreign investors and foreign companies. Kasi that can be tantamount to political instability. Kapag may mga ganyan mga political risks, natatakot yung mga investors. So maghahanap sila ng ibang stable na mga countries kung saan sila mag-invest. And also, since you mentioned about the economic agenda, most of the economic agenda, for them to be realized, kinakailangan ng support from the legislators, kinakailangan ng mga batas. And paano sila makakagawa ng batas kung busy-busy sila sa kung meron impeachment o kahit mga investigations na to. Because these investigations are really eating their time. I don't know kung may time pa nga sila for the enactment of laws.
Well, we have to wait for what the Vice President says in the subpoena given out by the NBI, and hindi po nalalayo sa katotohanan yung sinasabi ninyo dahil nag-headline na nga rin yung statements ni VP Sara on different international outlets. But in the meantime, we shall head off to the weekend. Thank you for talking to us here on The Big Story, political scientist Professor Dennis Coronacion.
Up next, Vice President Sara Duterte fails to respond to the NBI's subpoena today. Now, her reason: when The Big Story returns. Keep it here.
Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here on One News. Vice President Sara Duterte failed to show up at the office of the National Bureau of Investigation today, supposedly for the subpoena issued to her regarding her alleged threat to the first couple and House Speaker Martin Romualdez. According to her legal counsel, the Vice President belatedly learned about the postponed House Good Government Committee hearing today, still about the issue on her office's confidential expenses. Yesterday, the House committee postponed their hearing to give way to the NBI summon and so that VP Duterte cannot use the hearing as an excuse to skip the subpoena. Because of this development, the NBI decided to summon VP Duterte again on December 11. Let's discuss this further with our mobile journalist who covered the happenings at the NBI a while ago. Mary Mon Reyes joins us here on the studio. Hello!
Hi, Mary Mon.
Thank you for having me. First of all, what was the reaction of the NBI when they first heard about the Vice President saying, late niya nalaman na wala na yung postpone yung hearing?
I think
Suspended.
mixed emotions, not only on the part of the NBI, but also for us na nag-expect talaga. Kasi 9 a.m. supposedly dadating na doon si Vice President Sara Duterte. Pero may advance party na napumunta to check the vicinity of the area. Yun pala, isa din pala dito, yung legal counsel na niya. Yun yung isa sa mga hindi namin agad-agad napapansin. Kasi hindi niya rin pinepresenta yung sarili niya na I'm a representative from VP Sara's camp or party. So, around 10 a.m., biglaan in-announce na sa amin na from sa lobby ng NBI, akit na tayo sa conference room, hintayin lang natin si director, meron lang daw silang wrap-up na ginagawa, tapos may press con from their end. So, kami, okay, mukhang negative na. Kasi 9 a.m., pumatak na, 1 hour, wala. So, doon na in-announce sa amin na late
Ibig
pa lang
sabihin,
nalaman.
may team na si VP doon.
Yeah,
May advance party, yes,
So,
na pumunta beforehand.
kasi security yan for
Yes.
sure, 'di ba?
Yes.
To manage. Pero hindi pala siya darating.
Hindi siya darating. And, well, ang natanong din namin yun kanina na kung may advance party po, so technically they are aware kung ano ba yung mangyayari dapat this day. Pero ang nasabi, they were there to check for security purposes. Pero the legal counsel is there to present the letter stating na late na laman and yung two requests ni VP Sara in relation to the investigation of the NBI.
Okay, Marilyn. Speaking of those two requests, ito, I believe, is si Attorney Paul Lim.
Yes.
As we can see here on the screen, no, he was the one who represented the Vice President dito sa NBI this morning.
Yes.
Ano yung dalawang requests ni VP Sara? And if yung excuse niya no, is hearing about the House na postpone, late ba talaga na natimbrehan si VP Sara na mapopostpone yung House hearing kaya hindi na siya nakadalo?
Looking back yesterday, hindi pa pumapatak ng gabi, na-announce na rin ng House na canceled ang hearing today ng House Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability. So hindi pa pumapatak yung dilim, even the midnight, even ngayong araw na to, alam na technically. Pero hindi sa amin na-disclose kung anong oras ba nalaman ng side ni VP Sara kung na-canceled yung hearing for today. So hindi rin malinaw talaga. Pero yung dalawang request na stated dun sa letter na dala ni Attorney Lim is, number one, clear copy down ng documents na nag-i-initiate ng investigation, which I think is, ang sabi ng NBI, binigay na raw nila within today, yung clear copy nung documents
Today lang
na
nila
yun.
binigay?
Today. Kasi upon the request. Ngayon kasi na-request, so
Alright.
binigay, nag-comply sila. And the second request is a copy of the possible questions na itatanong daw sa kanya in relation to the investigation and to the complaint.
So is that according to due process and well within rights of the Vice President?
In a normal setting, in relation to the NBI investigation, hindi raw ito normal na bagay na nire-request yung questions beforehand. Lalong-lalo na ngayon, yung narrative kasi kay VP Sara, dalawa. So she's a resource person of the issue at hand. At the same time, tinitignan din siya na probable suspect kasi sa kanya nanggaling yung
Yes.
active and grave threats. So nung tinanong namin ano ang magiging response nyo on this one, pag-aaralan pa raw nila and lahat na ng mga ito ilalagay naman dun sa response letter na ibibigay kay VP Sara, which includes yung invitation ng pagpunta niya sa December 11. Wala na raw subpoena na i-issue na bago. Yung invitation nila na mag-show siya ulit on December 11, magiging stated na yun dun sa response
So
letter
it was extended.
Yes.
So the questions that she was requesting to receive prior to December 11 was already transmitted. Naibigay na yon.
Hindi pa.
Ah,
Kasi
hindi pa. Yun
pag-aaralan
yung pag-aaralan
nila.
nila.
If they will be giving it
Right.
or if ibibigay nila, anong questions ang ibabato nila.
Kasi
Kasi it's not
normally,
the normal course.
hindi ginagawa ng NBI
Yes.
according
According to Director Jaime Santiago.
Jaime Santiago. Pero ito, December 11 is the new date that the NBI has set
10
para sa
p.m.
summons ni VP Sara. What happens, Merriman, kung di siya dumalo ulit?
Currently, nung tinanong din natin yan, ang sabi, the investigation is proceeding. even as of this moment. Hindi siya nag-pause, hindi siya nag-stop. Tuloy-tuloy ito even until December 11. So pag nagpakita itong si Sara, din maririnig natin, hearing. So, mag-explain siya. Pero pag hindi siya nagpakita, titignan ngayon ng NBI and ng DOJ kung ano ba yung reasons kung bakit hindi siya makakapunta na naman for the second time around. So, if valid to or okay, so hindi pa natin alam if mag-extend pa ulit or what. Pero if invalid, maglalabas na sila ng reports based na doon mismo sa kung ano yung nakalap nila within the amount of time that they had.
Pero kanina nakikita natin dito si Director Jaime Santiago yan na nakikipagkamayan doon sa legal counsel ni VP Sara. I mean, what was ano napansin mo doon sa parang nainis ba sila, na-frustrate, in-expect na ba nila na ito ang gagawin ng Vice President? I mean, can you tell us more about that?
Medyo frustrated sila based on observation and yung mga nasasabi rin kasi pinaghandaan and hinihintay din nila within today. Marami nang nakaabang sa labas and sa loob ng NBI dito sa Pasay. So they were actually hoping na magpapakita na and para hindi na tumagal pa.
Buti nga binigyan pa ng extension, yung parliamentary courtesy
Hindi daw ito ni-request ni VP Sara, ang nag-decide daw nito ay NBI. So pinag-usapan nila ng mga director, sila nagsabi December 11. So tinanong din namin, bakit hindi na lang po next week?
Kasi
bakit
2 weeks from now pa yan.
Ang sabi, to give ample time to prepare pa raw for that.
Pero if she chooses not to cooperate with the ongoing investigation of the NBI, it won't constitute naman to her getting arrested, tama?
Not really. Tinanong namin yun and hindi pa naman daw. Kasi hindi pa siya tinatawag talaga na culprit or suspect. Probably self-professed na suspect kasi ngayon tinitingnan ngayon or yung tinatawag na mastermind sa nangyayari nito. Pero wala pa. Walang
But she loses her opportunity. Diba?
Yes, to explain herself.
Is it possible to get her interviews in the public as the explanation of the Vice President?
On December 11th?
Kung wala siyang binigay na paliwanag, hindi siya nag-appear, kukunin na lang ng NBI sa media.
Mga media interviews.
More likely kasi ang sabi, actually dapat today, ang sabi ng DOJ at ng NBI, if hindi pupunta, this was beforehand, not really today, kung hindi magpapakita on this day si Sara, the investigation will base sa existing evidences. So that would include especially yung online press conference na ginawa ni VP Sara nung weekend. So presumably, if next week hindi rin nagpakita si VP Sara, the evidence that they have, yun yung magiging basis.
Sa totoo lang medyo iba yung approach ng NBI dito. Kumpara mo dun sa teacher nung 2020, I think, na nagsabi na bibigyan niya ng reward na 50 million kung sino makakapatay kay former President Rodrigo Duterte. Kinaladkad, inaresto. Ang sinasabi ng NBI sa amin, they don't want to make the same mistake because this particular case was dismissed. Nakwento ba sa'yo ng NBI na kung ano yung tamang proseso na dapat nilang pagdaanan at what point, does arrest happen or could happen?
Hindi sa atin din-disclose specifically kung ano pa yung gagawin nila and kung ano yung ginagawa nila currently. Kasi nga, ang pinaka-trail of thought nila, pag humarap ngayon, si VP Sara will be having the hearings, then the investigation will proceed dun sa naging discussion nila. Pero for other necessary details in relation to the past case, wala silang sinabi tungkol dito. Pero ang promise nila, ang assurance nila, the investigation is ongoing, hindi lang dun sa sinabi na binitawan na active or grave threats ni Sara, kundi even yung threats daw na nakukuha ni Sara Duterte. So I think it's another topic to be discussed na kahit daw siya may pagbabanta rin sa kanya. Kaya medyo may timeline tayong sinusundan talaga.
Okay, pero Mary Mon, I guess yung frustration ni NBI Director Jaime Santiago comes from, because earlier this week, VP Sara said she intends to appear before the NBI. Diba sabi niya, sasagutin niya yung mga tanong. She even gave a condition na she will answer as long as they also answer her questions. Pero ano naman yung naging response din ng mga congressmen, no? Because sila yung nagbigay nag-decide, kumbaga, na i-postpone natin yung hearing para makadalo siya sa NBI. Pero pag nag-backfire so both the hearing and the NBI summons, hindi siya nagpakita.
Yes. Sa ibang mga kongresista na nakita natin, ang pinakatinitingnan nila dito, dapat hindi magpa-special ang isang public official, lalong-lalo na when the situation deems it necessary na magpresenta siya and to explain herself. But for the side of VP Sara, naglabas siya ng video statement around 4:45 p.m. Wala siyang sinabi specifically in relation to the NBI investigation, pero ang sinabi niya, even in times of crisis, the office will stand strong, resilient, and firm daw.
Yun ang response
Yun ang response niya.
Other than this Facebook post, di ba? Nag-post siya kanina ng video on her Facebook page.
Yan.
She did not mention any of that.
Anything in specific wala.
More so, she's just saying she's going back to work
Yes,
sa
and she's
Office of the Vice President.
And she's thanking yung members ng opisina niya.
na will take care. The lawyers will take care of it.
Well,
Okay.
Mary Mon, iimbitahan namin ulit. December 11, abangan mo ulit. 2 weeks time.
Right.
In the meantime, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Mobile Journal, Mary Mon Reyes.
Now, in other news, Australia is all set to make history as the first country to ban its population under 16 years old from using social media. 34 senators voted in favor and 19 were against. The measure is now going back to the lower house for one more final approval before it finally passes as a law. Now, in the run-up to the vote, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese championed the bill as he described social media such as Facebook, Instagram, and X as platforms for peer pressure, drivers of anxiety, a vehicle for scammers, and a tool for online predators. Apart from Australia, only China has a law restricting access for minors, specifically those under 14 years old, since 2021. But they are allowed at least 40 minutes a day on Douyin, which is the Chinese version of TikTok.
Well, in other news, Abraham Bumble Tolentino has won a fresh 4-year term as president of the Philippine Olympic Committee. Tolentino won the seat for the third time against challenger Basketball Hall of Famer Chito Loizaga. Tolentino got 45 out of 61 voters. Also retaining their posts were first Vice President Al Pandillo of basketball and second Vice President Richard Gomez for modern pentathlon. Now, Tolentino replaced Ricky Vargas after his resignation in 2019. Tolentino then won his re-election bid in 2020. Now, with the POC under Tolentino, the country scored historic triumphs in the last 2 Olympic Summer Games.
Well, up next, we'll take a look at the Meralco Liwanag Park, which turned on its Christmas display this evening. We'll look at that when we return. Welcome back. You're still watching The Big Story here on One News.
December is just around the corner, on Sunday to be exact, and in a couple of weeks, Christmas Day will be upon us. Now, this Yuletide season, as we always say, let's not forget to open our hearts and doors to our kababayans who need help, especially those who have been affected by the recent typhoons. And this year's Merry Ang Vibes ng Pasko Christmas campaign highlights the puso at serbisyo push within the MVP group. And we have this music video to get that campaign rolling. Let's watch this.
Naririto na naman, ramdam na ang Kapaskuhan. Marami mang pinagdaanan, pag-asa't liwanag ang laging laan. At anuman ang mangyari sa kanya, lumalapit palagi. Ikaw at ako, naghahatid ng ngiti, laging isa sa puso. Ipapangako, magsasaya ang
So nice, di ba? Kasi nga, 26 days na lang, Pasko na. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of Christmas displays, isa sa mga epic na or sa mga epic pagdating dyan, kung nasaan ang Meralco Liwanag Park. And they lighted it up this evening. We have with us our mobile journalist, Julie Baisa, who's over there. Julie, kamusta? Ang dami bang tao? At anong reaksyon nung finally nasindihan na?
Yes, Riza, may bago na nga pupuntahan yung mga kapatid natin kasi official nang binuksan itong Meralco Liwanag Park dito sa Pasig City. Maraming tao kanina, no? Kasi mismong sina First Lady Lizareta Marcos, si MVP, si Meralco CEO Manny B. Pangilinan, at dumalo rin dito si Pasig City Mayor Vico Soto, no? Paskong Pinoy, ang tema nito ipapakita ko sa inyo dito sa Lopez Building. Dito sa Lopez Building, ipinapakita yung kulturang Pinoy na disenyo. Diyan makikita natin yung iba't ibang mga disenyo katulad ng kalesa, tricycle, yung pamilya, meron ding jeepney, simbahan at sa sentro niyan, isang malaking parol. Hindi lang daw pagpapakita nga ng kulturang Pinoy yung nais nilang ipakita at sinisimbolo nitong disenyo dito sa Meralco Park. Ano? Ang sinasabi nila, gusto rin daw nilang ipakita yung pagmamahal sa bansa natin. No, upcycled yung mga gamit gaya ng recycled meter case, bahagi ng isinusulong na sustainability ng Meralco. Sa mga nais na bumisita dito mga kapatid, hindi lang po mata nyo yung bubusugin kasi pati yung sikmura rin. Mayroong mga pagkain Pinoy, gaya po ng mga kakanin, tusok-tusok at saka iba pang street food. Sa mga gustong bumisita, makita itong nakamamanghang pailaw dito sa Pasig City mula alas 6 ng hapon hanggang December 31.
Okay, mula alas 6, no?
Yes.
Oo, hanggang anong oras?
Anong oras?
11 p.m. po.
Ayun, pwede pa.
Oo,
Abot
okay,
pa tayo.
so 6 to
Pwede pa
11
tayo
PM.
pumunta doon.
Oo, talaga. Maraming salamat, Julie. No, parang nakaka-excite dyan at parang ang sarap puntahan. Lalo na sinabi mo na may pagkain pa.
Oo.
Okay, open to the public if you guys want to celebrate Christmas with us. Pero sigurado ako, medyo mahal yung kuryente na yan. No?
Oo.
Dami naka-on na ilaw eh.
Okay lang, once a year lang naman yan, every Christmas.
Oh, yan. Subsidized.
All right, and on that note, that's the show for us this Friday.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
We are heading to December by the weekend.
Yes.
So this is our first dibs on this. Please do enjoy the weekend and the approach to December.
The holidays.